Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. A lot of y'all might be surprised to hear me say that there are some good jobs for inmates in prison, right? You can be a clerk, you can do landscaping, you can learn HVAC, maintenance, stuff like that. You know, electrician, all of those types of things. You're not being paid anything. You know, they pimping on that, right? But there are some good jobs, and one of those jobs is called an inmate advisor. That's the penitentiary lawyer. Now, that's one of the most prestigious jobs in here because it's appointed by the warden. It's like 2 or 3 different types of jobs, to my recollection, that the warden specifically decides who gets it. And one of them is inmate advisor, and then the other one is, if I'm not mistaken, a law clerk. Somebody that researches the law and helps other inmates, you know, when they're fighting their cases and stuff like that. And the reason that the warden gets involved in situations like that, as far as selecting the individual or appointing the individual, is because those jobs require you to interact with the administration to the extent that, you know, the inmate D-board advisor and the D-board advisor, they have to work together. You feel what I'm saying? So he wants to make sure, I would imagine, or she, if it's a female warden, that he has somebody that can mingle, that can coexist in that space without conflict, because you got one person on one side and one on the other, and sometimes those write-ups, I'm telling y'all, they get sticky. They get sticky because those write-ups, man, are serious. A write-up, or A or B, a class A or B, those are serious infractions. They can keep a person from making parole. They can cause a person to lose their parole, and that means you don't go home. So they want to put the right people in those positions. But let me tell you something. Every now and then, you'll find a situation where, you know, everybody can't do that job. And so one day, I had this brother named Skunk. Right? Now, don't get it twisted. We didn't call him Skunk because he stink or anything like that. We called him Skunk because he used to be that man on the town with that bag. You understand what I'm saying? That Skunk weed. Y'all remember that? I know y'all remember that back in the day. Some of y'all do. If you don't, you missed it back in the day. But anyway, I ain't going to get off on it. That's a story for another time, right? But check this out. Skunk, he came to me. You know what I'm saying? Cause me and him kick it a lot, and he trusted what I had to say about things. And I think things out a little bit better than most people in here. So he came to ask me, what did I think about him becoming an inmate advisor? Because they had asked him to. And my first question to him is, why did they ask you, of all people, to become an inmate advisor? Because, you know, check it out. Now, Skunk was one of the guys. Now, don't get it twisted. That didn't automatically exempt you from becoming an inmate advisor. It's just that I knew what Skunk was on. He was still doing things. You feel what I'm saying? And now he really didn't give me a clear answer on why they asked him to become the inmate advisor. But it was curious to me that they would ask somebody, because internal affairs looks into the background of the individual and all this and that. So they had to know Skunk's name was on the radar. So it started to make me wonder, why in the world would they offer it to you, and why in the world would you even take that offer, right? So when I asked him that again, he said, I don't know, Joe T. He said, but look, what do you think if I took the job? And I told him, I said, Skunk, I said, let me tell you something. It may not be the type of job that you want to do. And he said, what you mean by that, Joe T? I said, look here. This is me and you talking. You still doing things. You still in the mud, man. And if you still in the mud, how you going to be the lawyer? You feel me? You're going to have situations where you're going to be involved with somebody that might be doing business with you that you got to represent at the D-board one day. And then I said, what happens when they hem you up? Because it always happens. People like, you know what I'm saying, that get down and get money in the penitentiary, you in and out of the hole. Trust me, I know. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to give you the advice that where you can think about these things before you decide to take a job like that. So he looked at me all studious and whatnot. He was really kind of pissed off at me. And he said, I'm taking the job anyway, Joe T. I think I can make a lot of money doing the job. I said, how you going to make some money doing the job? You don't get paid but 50 cents an hour. He said, you know what I mean? I'm going to get my little side hustle, man. These dudes, I'm finna charge these lanes, man, to beat these write-ups. I said, man, see, there you go. You already starting out on the wrong foot. And I said, what's going to happen when one of the guys get a write-up? And they going to expect you to get that write-up beat when it's hard to beat it. What you going to do then? He said, man, I ain't worried about that, man. I ain't even worried about that right now. I said, what you come and ask me for then if you ain't going to listen to nothing that I'm saying? He said, I'm listening, Joe T. He said, I just want to take this job. I said, you should have just took the job and didn't even bother to come and say anything to me, because my advice to you right here, right now, bro, don't take that job. Well, guess what he did? Skunk left where we were at talking, went straight to the D-board chairman and told the chairman, I want the job. So he took the job. He took it. And now when you become the inmate advisor, it's everybody on the compound finds out. So when everybody found out that Skunk was the inmate advisor, they talking to him. It makes you a very popular person on the compound at first. And let me explain what I mean. See, Skunk hadn't had a case yet. So everybody's liking him because he's selling this, look, I got you, I'm going to take care of you, do this, do that, right? It's almost like he was trying to lay the foundation that he could get you out of something. But it was going to cost you, right? And individuals that are in the penitentiary that's doing their thing, they don't mind that. They'll pay a little bit because, like I said before, those write-ups can keep you from going home. And if you're dealing with an individual that don't want to change their behavior, right, and still want to go home, paying a little money to the inmate advisor ain't nothing. But let me tell y'all something. It's real tricky. It gets real sticky when you're trying to take money in exchange for beating a write-up, because it's not that simple. It's not that simple. So check this out. Skunk gets his first case. Now his first case is a peon. And this peon catches an out-of-place charge, right? And out of place means you're somewhere that you're not supposed to be. Like if you live in housing unit 5, you're not supposed to be in housing unit 15. If you live in housing unit 5 and you're assigned to cell 30, you're not supposed to be in cell 29. You feel what I'm saying? You can't go in somebody else's cell. You most definitely cannot go in another unit. You're not supposed to be doing stuff like that. So they caught this peon. He was in another building altogether. Get caught out of pocket. And this is how he got caught out of pocket. We had an emergency lockdown. An emergency lockdown in the penitentiary is like, you know, they're looking for somebody and can't find them, account, or whatever the case may be, or they call something that somebody done escaped or whatever, and they got to lock everybody down so they can count everybody and make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be. So they called this emergency lockdown, and this peon, he gets caught because when they call emergency lockdown, the officer slams the front door, locks it, and tells everybody, report to your cell. So when this peon was in another unit and the officer slammed the door and told everybody to report to their cell, the peon went to the front door and said, officer, let me out. I need to get back to my unit. The officer, he was kind of cool. So he looked at him. He said, man, why didn't you let me know you was in here? You feel what I'm saying? And why are you in here? You ain't got no official business to be in here. He opened the door and he told him, get back to your unit. The officer didn't want to deal with it. So when he let him out, the officer knew what he was doing. When he let him outside of that unit, he had to make his way back to the other unit. The officer got on the radio, said, I got one coming towards you that was out of place. You know what I'm saying? Right up coming forthwith, meaning immediately, as soon as this emergency lockdown is over. So the peon going down the sidewalk, right? So the officer tell him, give me your ID. What unit you live in? Get on back to the unit, and we're going to see you after this emergency lockdown. He already know he got a write-up coming. So when he get the write-up, he tell him he wants Skunk as his inmate advisor. So when the inmate advisor gets the paper, Skunk gets it. He said, oh, I got my first case. It's going down. So he go talking to the peon, right? And it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal depending on the circumstance you get caught out of place. That's a Class C write-up. Now, you got 3 types of write-ups, A's, B's, and C's. A is the most serious, like a fight, a stabbing, possession of a phone, anything like that. B's are a step down from that. You feel what I'm saying? You might get aggressive, being disrespectful and stuff like that with the officers, or a fight that can get dropped from an A to a B. And then a C is something like out of place, or, you know, just not doing what you're supposed to do, refusing a direct order, depending on, you know, what level it is. If an officer tell you to shut the door and you don't shut your cell door or something like that, well, you ain't got to shut your cell door. Let's say an officer tells you to go to your room and you don't go to your room, he can write you up for refusing a direct order. That's a small Class C. You feel what I'm saying? But this peon got written up for out of place and it was a Class C. No big deal, right? But the peon don't know that this Class C is a small, minor issue. He don't know that. So when Skunk steps to him and tells him, I can get you out of this, but it's going to cost you. Right? Now, if you want to find out how the rest of this plays out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so tired.